everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jude, and I'm so excited to have here today Rhianon. And many of you may know her. She's certainly a familiar face to the YouTube world. She does have her own channel, which is My Little Domestic Church. So I'm so thrilled to have Rhianon here. Hello, Rhianon. So
Hi,
glad that you joined me. Oh, great. You're welcome. And I was really taken back by your conversion video. And for a while, I have wanted to introduce my audience to wonderful, dynamic Catholics who are converts to the faith or those that are re-energized in their faith. So I really felt when I watched and rewatched your conversion video, how passionate you are about the Catholic faith. So first, before we dive into all of that, I wanted to give you an opportunity to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is so fun. My name is Rhianon, and again, my YouTube channel, My Little Domestic Church, is how we connected, which I love everything you do on Instagram too. It's great. So I'm a wife. My husband's name is Armando. He works here for the diocese, and we have 6 children. And it's just so nice to look at your smiling face. Zoom,
Oh, thank you. Yours too.
You're just so sweet. Okay. Anyway, sorry. I'm a mama of 6, 4 boys and 2 girls. And my husband took all of them out for a little treat while we're doing this. I have my little notes, so I don't need to have notes on myself. But anyway, I'm a homemaker and a homeschool mom. Our 2 older kids go to a Catholic school, and then I homeschool during the elementary years. I think that's pretty much it about me.
And they just got your in full force just this week. You started your kids back to school, and so it was a busy week. So I really appreciate you taking this time to do this, because with 6 kids, your life is like a whirlwind constantly. But I want to tell the viewers, please check out her channel, and I'll have the link below in the description box, because you are such a positive role model for young people, for young parents, for young families, because I think of the way that you are raising your children and the home you are creating. It's really theology of the home. And I think your title for your channel and your platforms is very appropriate, My Little Domestic Church, because this is the foundation of our faith for our children, is in the home. So you do that so beautifully.
Oh, thank you. I try to be authentic too and show mess and real life. I don't show my kids faces. I try to respect their privacy because I don't know how they're going to feel when they get older, and I want to respect that. But I do try to show the real, because I feel like that's one of the things that makes it beautiful about the domestic church, is that there are ups and downs. Everything's not always pretty and perfect, but there are areas that we can focus on really making, beautiful and memorable. Just like when we walk into a church, there is beauty. There's so much thought behind it, and so much work. When we walk and we see the presentation, everything, a lot went into that. But at the same time, people come and we're all messy and we're sinners and we are fallen, and yet we continue to come. And I feel like the domestic church is such a beautiful place for family members to know that I can come here, I can be messy, I'm sinful, I can get upset and I can be grumpy, but I know that there's always this constant place of forgiveness and love, and I can be me and still try to become, I guess, the best version of me. I know people like to say that. And so, yeah, and it took a while to get the name of My Little Domestic Church. I had a lot of other things. I had to keep processing and praying. And then when I figured that out, I was like, oh,
that's exactly it, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? That is so true, because I think more so than ever in this time that we're living, the presentation out there on social media always has to be perfect. I have the perfect house. I have everything just so I've updated, and but to be real, if any of us as YouTubers would turn around the camera, really show the reality. We all have our nice backdrops and stuff like that. But the bottom line is to be able to share that good news, because people are hurting out there. People are searching out there. People are empty out there. And that is the beautiful message of your conversion story. So, Rhianon, can you tell us your conversion story?
Sure. So I have my little notes again. I'm going to standpoint. So I really thought about this interview, and I was thinking about the three things that kind of I was more that kind of created my understanding of the world growing up. So I was raised in the Christian Science religion, which is not Scientology. People sometimes get those confused, and a lot of New Age influences. And then also in the 90s, just a lot of feminism that, like, I always say, I'm not talking about holding property and being able to vote. I'm talking about toxic feminism. And, men are basically, when you think of a man, you think of him being ignorant or carnal. And that was something that I was just very steeped in. So those things. I came from a very loving home, though, and my parents loved me. And I had background of Catholicism within, like, our family heritage. So my first really introduction to it was when we would go home to Louisiana and visit family members, and they were just big, joyful Catholic families with problems just like anybody else. But there was always just this, like, family was important and joy was important and making things special. And it really started that little seed in my heart of Catholicism. And then the second thing was I had friends that were Catholic, and although they were, people all mess up, there was this string of, I guess, constants, I'm not constant, whatever, that their family was important, their faith was important, and they had joy. And it just was so enamoring. It was just like, gosh,
contagious, right?
Yeah, it's contagious. It's really, and the boys, I remember brothers. I was like, they wanted to get to church. They respected their parents. And I was just like, what is this?
Right, so you have to find out more about that. As a young person, here you were a young person, but you felt it was so out of the secular norm, right? Right.
And I didn't recognize.
You want to go to church? You're chopping at the bit. We can't be late. What?
Yeah. This is something different. And the thing that it took me years to really process was the Catholicism that came from our heritage. Although I wasn't raised Catholic, I can see it now, how it's kind of steeped within my family. Things about just, there was a respect for an authority, a good authority. I remember being like, oh, there's something different about that. Also, we were pro-life in our home. We always knew, my sister and I, that if anything ever happened, we could come home. We knew, and it's not just about, pro-life in the womb, but also, elderly people were important. Our grandma lived with us for a while. She was respected, and they gave her, so there were things that I realize now, wow, I really did in some ways grow up Catholic, because it really does it's something you can't get rid of when it's within you. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to make sure to say that, because I noticed that over the years. I also put down that there were some points. So the first one was what I just said about feminism. These were areas that I was searching for something different than what I was seeing in the world. There was feminism, toxic feminism, looking for foundation and authority, tangible, as in I could experience with my senses, proper order with the movement of God, and human dignity and worth. So looking for foundation and authority, this was a big one for me, because when I was a kid, I remember thinking that authority just was based on what the adults around you thought. And to me, that felt kind of scary, because what if what they thought wasn't okay? And also the idea of foundation, it was like the scripture, Ephesians 4:14. And if it's okay to just read, it's short, but
certainly.
so that we may no longer be infants tossed by waves and swept along by every wind of teaching arising from human trickery. That just blew me away when I realized that that was in the Bible, and how I didn't have a foundation. So when I learned about Christ being a solid foundation, and that little parable, about building your life on a foundation and that being Christ, and then the idea of there is an authority, and Christ, he is the authority, and he's given authority we have the magisterium, and we have, apostolic succession. I was so moved by that. And it helped me to be able to just kind of go in life, because I had foundation and there was authority, and it wasn't based on whatever new thing came about. So that was that. I don't know if I should just keep going.
Tradition too. Tradition
Yes.
was very important to you, that the church held to the traditions and to those basic fundamental principles.
It's wonderful.
We haven't wavered.
No, and that's what I put down.
Years.
Yeah, I have here, but I'll do that one next, I guess, because that proper order with the movement of God, I put down, there is right and wrong. There is capital T truth and capital T tradition. And there is still a place for our humanity. And that, to me, is something that is one of the things that has kept me Catholic too, because I think sometimes when you go through a conversion, if you just basically depend, a parish can be wonderful. There's so much I love about having the parish and then the diocese and the archdiocese, there's order, but sometimes people find that things are lacking in their parish. But when we know that there is more than only our parish, or even like the idea of like a sister church, like there's more there. I can go to the catechism. There's encyclicals. There is so much Catholic history, true Catholic history, not the stuff that I was taught in school only. There is so much. It's bigger than I love my church, or I love my, and I don't mean that to a negative anyone else. I'm just saying, for me, like, I wanted something that was more than just that. So that was another part. And then proper, oh no, it wasn't proper. It was tangibility. So in the Christian Science faith, we are taught that there are no senses, that you're not really here, you're really somewhere else, and the material is not real. And I believed it, like, completely. And it was really, really confusing, but I just kept making myself like be ordered to it when I was a kid, because that's what I knew. And so when I went to the Catholic Church for the first time as an adult, and I shared my conversion video, I was like, what's going on? Like, every one of my senses either was being like spoken to, I guess, or it
awakened, right?
Awakened. There was beautiful imagery, incense. You could taste the Eucharist, but I wasn't Catholic yet. But there, touch, it's rich, yes. And so for me, that was a big one, to be able to worship within my humanity, my being a human. And so some people are like, what? But for me, that was a big deal. And then the last thing I have that I was looking for was human dignity and worth. Dignity, when you understand Catholic teaching on the human person, you understand that your dignity is not something can be taken away. Yes, we can do things that are not proper to our dignity that we should have because we're human, but you don't lose your dignity and you don't lose your worth. It's there. And then the Catholic teaching on the human person, that we are innately good, is so powerful, because that is not everywhere in the Christian world. And I always try to say the positive. I don't try to put down anything to make something go up, but I will say that I appreciate our teaching and our understanding, because when you raise children, it sure does help to understand that they're innately good and that they have dignity and worth. And you're just like, you're helping to form them rather than like train. You're forming who they are and who Christ wants them to be. So those are the things that I was searching for and that I found within the Catholic Church. So I hope that
that's
makes
perfect. Sense. Beautiful,
yeah.
Beautiful. And this question, how has converting to Catholicism changed your life? Obviously, we are hearing you with such a passion and such a vibrance. And anybody who will watch your videos will see that as a matter of fact, right now, you have a challenge on your channel. It's the Fiat Handmaidens of the Lord challenge. I love this challenge. You came up with it. So did you want to talk a little bit about that as relation to all of the aspects of converting. Now the fruits are coming out, and anybody, or obviously your children, your husband, those people that you know, they are, anybody around you, they're reaping the benefits of the fruits, I should say, of your faith. I know there's a lot packed in there, but
that's okay. Yeah. So I'll just start. I love everything you said. It's a joy because you get to be present and you get to be part of that. Like, I mean, like when like with my kids, like, yeah, things are hard sometimes, but I'm just, and I don't say this to be like, oh, like, but like, I feel like I cannot believe that I get to have the opportunity to be their mother and to like experience all their ups and downs in their life with them. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's really amazing. Anyway, but number 3, question. Yeah. 3 things you love the most about your faith. I put that as apostolic. I love that. I love so much that we can trace back everything to Jesus and to his word. I just think it's just so precious. It's so wonderful. And then I put down that it's universal because we grew up to love all people and to respect people. And where we were living at the time when I became Catholic, there was just a lot of prejudiced behavior, and it was shocking. My husband's in the military, and he had been stationed somewhere, and I would hear like just jokes, like prejudiced jokes, and I was like, I just hadn't been exposed to that really. And the first time I went to Catholic church there, we had an African American priest, and I think he was the first one in was it Florida to be ordained? I can't remember, and I was just like, yes, everyone is welcome. And I know people might think that's silly, but I love it. I love it that it is universal. So that's the second thing. And then there is, I already talked about this earlier, but there is more than the church you go to. About that. There is so much more. You have the magisterium and the encyclicals and, the catechism. So if you hear someone say something and they're like, well, I heard a Catholic say that, so that's what Catholics believe. I'm like, that's the beauty, is that is not necessarily true. There are teachings and they're in place that are not just what someone said, Right. And then the saints, and then, like I said before, like Catholic history, actual Catholic history is so helpful to understand really where we are now, like with, anyway, so history. And then you said the Fiat, Handmaidens of the Lord. So I was praying for something to do to challenge myself to get out of, am I supposed to do this? Am I supposed to do that? Well, I know this is what I'm supposed to do, but then she says that she's Catholic and she does this, and she said, what am I, and so I was praying about it, and just these points started coming up in my mind. So I just started writing them down, and I said, I want to give my life to God always. And then I thought of Our Lady's Fiat, of her yes to our Lord. And so I said, Fiat, Handmaidens of the Lord, challenge. Who wants to do it with me?
Beautiful. And you have gotten such a response. And I want everybody out there to realize that at any time you can pop in. Even if you're watching this a year later, you can always, it doesn't mean you've missed anything, because we can always start from where we are right now. And I love a lot of the aspects surrounding this: to grow in faith, to accept our faults and imperfections, grow in holiness. We are all on that path to sainthood. And hopefully we are helping each other to take those steps with us. Yeah. We're all on that journey. We're all coming home, hopefully, together, hand in hand, together, and saying yes to the Lord, just like our Blessed Lady had said yes to the Lord. Be it done to me according to your word. Yes. What a beautiful message.
It is. And it's joyful because there's always a place for growth. There's always a place for growth. There's a place for being who you are, but moving towards him. I had a religious brother once tell me when I was just becoming Catholic, and I was struggling because I had some, sin in my life that I didn't know how to get out of it. And I didn't understand how to become something new. And I remember him saying, every time it's like a string between us and the Lord. And every time, it's kind of like baby theology, but it was helpful then. I liked it. And he was like, every time you cut that string, God ties it, and it makes you just that much closer
Mm.
until you're face to face with him. And being able to see who you truly are in him, and it's just wonderful. I don't know. So, and the Fiat challenge, you can add and change. I did want to say, like for me, I feel called to wearing dresses and head covering. Femininity was a real struggle for me in the early years. So I love dressing this way, and I love it. And I think we're all called to modesty, but you can definitely change different things depending on where you are in your walk on the challenge. So
I love that. I love the way that you're holding on to that tradition of modesty, the head coverings, being so respectful, because we are temples. We are temples, and we should remember that we are vessels of God. So just always being mindful of that. Can we be fashionable? Of course, but that modesty, I feel is so conducive to our spirituality as well. So
yeah, I get pretty dresses with roses because they remind me of Mary. I get like I have a femininity what's it feminizing your wardrobe. I started in 2019. I get these dresses that are affordable. I want to move into a place of finding ways to not have fast fashion so I can respect different things. But at this point, that's kind of where I'm at. And I share those videos too about how you can find something affordable. Even go to your Goodwill. I made a Marian modesty video, like, $20, went to Goodwill and found something modest. So to be so encouraging.
That fun? It's so fun when you can find a piece of clothing. It's like Mary's gift, Our Lady's gift in there. I still have, and I've worn it on my videos, especially my live stream when I'm doing my prayers. A beautiful t-shirt just of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And it was just like a gift meant to be. So, look for those things, like you said, in the thrift stores too. They can be hidden. There's little gems.
Yeah, so, that's fun.
Yeah. So I just love that because you're so beautiful. Like I had mentioned before we went on the air, inside and out, you just have such a beauty that I think that's why so many people are drawn to you. And of course, then drawn to the message that you are sending out about the faith. And I just have a few questions. And I've asked this to a lot of the people that I've interviewed, and I think it's so fun. What is your favorite devotion?
Oh, Divine Mercy Chaplet, hands down. I love it. St. Faustina is just so moving to me. And whenever I can at 3:00, we have rosaries all over. Like little boys have rosaries hanging in there. I have them in the car. So everywhere at 3:00, if I can remember, I'm like, who wants to do a rosary with me? And if they don't want to, that's okay. Mama puts it on, turns it up a little loud. I put them on YouTube. And I just do it. And sometimes people just join in. And sometimes they won't. And that's okay, because it's seeds planted. And when I feel like children feel respected, to be able to go, I don't know right now if I'm ready for that. That gives just a little bit more room for that seed to settle in. And so Divine Mercy Chaplet. Beautiful. It just answered your question.
Yes, beautiful. Divine Mercy. How about your go-to saint?
Oh, Saint Teresa of Lisieux. So when I was becoming Catholic, I asked if I could have a confirmation saint, and my sponsor at the time said, oh, we don't do that anymore. And I didn't know any better. So I was like, okay. And then later on, I found out that we could have chosen one. And so I only knew Ruth from scripture. And I loved Ruth since I was a little girl. Since I ever heard about her, I just loved her. So I thought maybe Ruth. And then when I first learned about St. Teresa of Lisieux and her little way, I was like, oh, she knows my heart. She knows my heart. I just feel like I could never be grandiose. And I just mess up all the time. And I'm not quick to think of things. And so I love her.
Isn't that beautiful? If we just open ourselves up and we just look at the saints, there is a saint that just calls to us, and you're just drawn. So we, just dive in. And of course, with your children, I always say this, that it's so fun to expose. And you just did it. You just did it for Saint Maximilian Kolbe.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was really fun.
Yesterday, on the.
We had a lot of feasts and a lot of cakes and sweets. But
So
it's so much fun.
it is, and that is going to be a lifelong memory that your children have and will pass on to their
Thank
children
you.
in the future, because you're building that. You're like you said, our faith is so with the senses. We're with our audio, our visual, our tactile, everything. And then when you're doing that within your home, the theology of the home, that is where those seeds are really planted.
And with that being said, all of my kids, I don't share their names, but they all have two saints. Their first is a saint and their second middle name, except for one. Sometimes we do a name that has to do with our heritage too, but it has a purpose of our faith. And so then we usually try to baptize them on the feast day that goes along with it. But if it's too far away, then we just find something. So we have a baptism box, and it has the little outfits they wore with all their candles and all their little everything. So every baptism day, we get it out, we have cupcakes, and we go through and we talk about their baptism day and what it was like. And then we have their feast days and their names. And then sometimes their middle names. And then so there's a lot.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody, young families, are watching this and really learning that, it's those little things. You don't have to be perfect either. You don't have to follow, you can make your own, take what the church gives us, the beautiful ways that the church encourages us each and every day to incorporate. And then you can make it your own, and you can get your children involved in those things, that they too can be helpers. How are we going to celebrate this feast?
And I do want to say too that sometimes, I'm sorry, like our baptism box is a beat up white box. It's like falling apart, but we have moved like 10 times because my husband's work in ministry and before he was in the military. And then sometimes I'll be going through a bout of depression, but it's a feast day coming up. And so I literally just print something off, simple. I'm like going to the store real quick to get cupcakes. We don't make anything. And then we sit down and we do it. And, it doesn't have to be perfect, and I try to show just clips of it and the mess of it. Like the thing I made, I passed down from my grandmother. So I tell them there's legacy there. Did it look beautiful and perfect? No. Did all my kids like it? No. But we watched the little thing. We enjoyed ourselves. And that's what I pray and hope they'll remember. And I'm setting my future daughter-in-laws up for success, because I am so not perfect. And, whatever they make will probably be better. So I'm loving them that way. So
you are such a beautiful soul. It just radiates through the screen. And so I thank you so much for joining and sharing.
For inviting me to this.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell the viewers about just your conversion? Maybe just a short, to pass along just that lasting, maybe little thread about your faith that, will maybe encourage their journey as well.
I would say really fast to be really patient with yourself, because there's so much to learn. When you're struggling and you feel like, is this worth it? Yes. And we have the Eucharist. You will not find the Eucharist anywhere else in the whole world. So that is, if anything else, a reason to stay in the hard years that kept me. And I'm so grateful. And just take your time. You don't have to have all the answers. You can mess up. Be patient with yourself. And like in Timothy, it says something about, I think it's 1 Timothy, I can't remember, about like, you don't have to go and tell everybody I'm summarizing, but you don't have to tell everybody all the time about stuff, but be prepared that when someone asks you, have something to say. And it's okay if it's not perfect, because the Holy Spirit, he can use anything.
Yes. Yes.
And I do want to say really fast that my husband has been a huge part of my conversion. I converted first. He had no interest at first. And then he came into the fullness of the faith. And then I wanted to leave. And then he started to read the documents and learning. And then that's when I was like, oh, there's more to this than just, I want something new. And so it's kind of a dance. And sometimes people go through that in their relationships with the church. But it's just be patient. It's so wonderful. So worth it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Rhianon.
Thank you.
And everyone out there, I want you to go if you're not familiar with Rhianon and her beautiful work that she's doing. So I'm going to link all of her platforms below, and check her channel out and Instagram and Facebook, because she really is such a positive role model for anyone, but particularly young people and young people with families. So I thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to meet you today.
This is such a nice opportunity, and I really enjoyed visiting with you too. This was great.
Thank you so
And where
much.
2 or 3 are gathered, the Lord is there, right? So
Exactly, exactly. So my
thank you.
friends, thank you so much. And my friends, until we meet again, peace and love.